And welcome back to the Yellhorn Podcast, a competitive Pokemon TCG podcast where we tell you what's going on with the competitive Pokemon TCG. I'm Zach Lesage, and I'm here with our other host, PJ. How's it going?
It's going wonderful, Zach. I'm enjoying the nice summer weather here in upstate New York. So we're getting ready for brand new sets pretty soon. I'm really pumped about that, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today on the podcast and going over all of the new cards that everybody will be able to add into their decks finally. And there's a couple that I'm extremely excited about.
Yeah, no, Paldea Evolved. At the time of recording, pre-releases are going on, I think on a global level, and we're trying to figure out exactly what's the play for NAIC. That's going to be the first time it's globally legal outside of Japan or Asia and Japan. North America and the rest of the world anyways. So, yeah, Paldea Evolved is interesting. There's some big cards that we've already seen. That I think a lot of people have already seen, like Iono, kind of like a fusion between Marnie and N. We also have like Reversal Energy, an energy that allows you to have three multi-type energies on an evolution Pokemon if you're behind. Super Rod reprint and Superior Energy Retrieval reprint. So a lot of cool things going on. What are your general thoughts about the set?
Yeah, I mean the set has a lot to offer. I mean it's the second set out of this block for Scarlet and Violet. So usually when we get a couple of sets into a block, we see more heavily used cards, or maybe there's a shakeup in different types of decks. I see a couple of Pokemon, but it really relies a lot for me on the trainers and special energies. I think that that's really what's going to be the different take on a lot of the decks that we see in the current meta, instead of just full-on deck changes or new decks to come out in the meta as it stands currently.
Yeah, no, I totally feel you. Usually, I feel like most sets try to add like one new archetype
Yeah.
to the formats, and then try to add a bunch of supplemental support. So on
Right.
Discord, PJ, I just sent you over the link of the site that I use when it comes to looking at proxies and stuff like that is Justin Basil.
Yes.
I think that they have it's the most nicely put together website. So shout out to them. TSS and at least myself loves using their site. Now they have this thing called selected proxies, and it's some of the better cards out of the set, or most of the good cards out of the sets, that they used and made the English copy so you can print out for proxies. And I know I've been building decks. I have like 5 decks built in this format. But I also think it works as kind of like the best of and surrounding cards from the sets.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I wanted to kind of start going over. Fortress EX, what are your thoughts?
So it plays pretty similar to how the Electro GX used to play. And we saw a lot of that in the kind of end, I won't say end because there wasn't any end to expanded format, where the card knocks itself out. You know, your opponent takes 2 prize cards, but then you're just able to slam a whole bunch of energy onto the field. This one says 5 basic grass energy onto the field, so it could give playability to some of those bigger, beefier, high energy cost Pokemon, maybe colorless Pokemon, or maybe some grass, V Maxes that are still out there that nobody plays with. I do see this as a really great card. It's not necessarily specific to, just grass Pokemon, so that's good. I think that there's potential, but we might not see it right out of the gate. But definitely a card to keep your eye on, for sure.
Yeah, I think I don't know if the right Pokemon to power something up with explosive energy is there. But it should note that I like that there's cards that do cause themselves to get knocked out. So this is something that you could use with Reversal Energy. This is something that you could use with Iono. This is something that you could use to jump back into a game. Roxanne's another one. So going lower on prize cards sucks unless it doesn't suck. So some comeback tips. Next card, there's this Abomasnow. Its ability is both Pokemon in play just can't be healed. Both yours and your opponent's.
Yeah.
What do you think about that ability? Like, is there enough healing in our format? Do you think it's going to ever see play?
We just don't see a healing deck right now, so I don't think that anything like this is going to see play. So, again, not that these cards are bad or that they're bulk cards, but I definitely see these as future cards. I'm always thinking about Did I lose you there?
Oh, I'm still here.
Okay.
I think my camera is doing some fun stuff.
Gotcha.
We will connect to the camera. To anyone who's listening in disregard.
We'll put the camera back. I just want to make sure Zach didn't leave me here hanging.
Yeah. If we go without camera for this one, that's going to be the least of my worries today.
And then we have the Pokemon that I'm taking a look at now, which is the first stage 2 out of this set. One of the starters from Scarlet and Violet. Always scares me to pronounce the name. Meowscarada?
I that's probably how I was going to go and pronounce it.
Okay.
So I'm also in the same boat as you, where I feel like I'm not looking to... I think that sometimes it's tough to pronounce Pokemon names.
Yeah, it is. Especially, I don't play the video game as much either, so I'm not constantly seeing these Pokemon. When you play the card game and you see a Pokemon repeatedly every time you sit down to play, you obviously learn how to say the name a little bit better each time. So don't ever feel bad that you can't say the name, because we're on YouTube and Spotify and all these other places, Apple Music, and we can't always say the names right, so don't feel bad. But Magic Bouquet is pretty cool. I like this. I kind of hate that it's a stage 2 in this format, but I think, again, looking forward, the ramp decks are going to be there. Look at Gardevoir EX. That is a ramp deck. And now we see this. Gives me a lot of Decidueye GX vibes here, too. Where you're just discarding the energy, or, similar to how quick shooting for the Inteleon line and Sword and Shield worked. I think that it's a good card. It has certain niches that you can play it with, but I don't think it's an unplayable card by any means. Nail Scratch is the attack for 2 colorless energy. If your opponent's active Pokemon has any damage counters on it, it does an extra 120. So 220 for 2 energies. Technically, you could throw a DTE on here and do 200, as long as there's some damage counters on it. RIP, my homie Galarian Zigzagoon. We do have the Radiant Hawlucha, or not the Radiant Hawlucha, just regular Hawlucha from Scarlet and Violet that can place damage counters. We have the Radiant Alakazam, that's the one I was thinking of, that can move those damage counters around. So it could be good. Is there a relevant Pokemon in the meta right now that is weak to grass? There's a couple. You have Tyranitar V, and then you have, your Umbreon. Is Umbreon?
I think Umbreon is weak to grass. I want to say it's weak to grass. So otherwise, a pretty rare weakness.
Right.
I'm kind of with PJ, where I think Meowscarada is probably it's fundamentally good. Worlds, I think it was Worlds 2016 or Worlds 2017. I made day 2 with Decidueye GX, and my deck advanced. Also played against Grant Manley in order to do there too. So TSS overall wholesome.
Right.
But it's one of those things where I think, like, I played Decidueye GX with Vileplume, so I stopped my opponents from their abilities. We've seen Decidueye GX seen with Zoroark GX, so just a general attacker. So, I mean, adding damage modifiers in any given way is just fantastic. And that's something that we should look into. The discarding a grass energy might be tough, but with superior energy retrieval, Clara, stuff like that. I posted on the Shuffle Squad a video with this and Lost Zone. I thought that was cool with Sableye and Metacham, but probably a little too much meme or dream than actually great.
Yeah, I mean, again, we see it with a lot of other Pokemon, and I know that there's still Pokemon that nobody uses out there, like there's a dark Pokemon that can do extra damage if there's damage counters that nobody uses. It's a V-Star. But regardless, I mean, this Pokemon is cool. It can definitely be used with a couple of different archetypes, but we'll keep moving on. We do have another EX in the grass Pokemon here, and it's a basic EX too, which is great because now we're kind of leaning on some bigger basics in the format. Wo-Chen EX. Zach, what are your thoughts on that?
I think out of the 3 that kind of fall within this, I don't know what they are. I didn't play Scarlet and Violet. I hope I didn't ruin anyone's childhood dreams by hoping that Zach Lesage plays through all the Pokemon TCG or the Pokemon VGC games. I tried. I couldn't get into it. I think out of the 4 cards that are of this category or legendary category or whatever, I don't. I feel like this one might be the worst. It might be good with something like the Fortress in the future being able to snipe
Yeah.
for 5 prize cards is 300 snipe. So I
Right.
could see that being good, but I have a hunch that this card's just not great. If anything, it might just be a one of tech.
Exactly. Yeah, and we kind of see, obviously the HP is going down a little bit. We're used to all these big V Star and V Max Pokemon. So this EX now going to just a 230 amount. So similar to, Sword and Shield base set coming out with the Vs. Still decent, but I do like that we're kind of trending down unless it's a stage 2 setup, which is pretty nice. And now we'll move on to Zach's one of your favorite type of Pokemon, the Fire Pokemon.
Ooh.
So
Is
we
this
have
is this Skeledirge?
yes,
Okay. I mean,
Melodier.
okay, so I'm going through phases with this card, and I feel like I thought this card was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you want to what? Let's think differently. 340 HP is a monstrous amount. Like
Yeah.
that is tough to knock out. Unless you're a water type, even hitting 170 as a water type Pokemon is tough.
Right.
Vitality, like first and foremost, everyone's gonna look at Burning Voice 270. So you do -10 for each damage counter on this Pokemon. 2 energies, 270. So I was like, okay, if we slap a choice belt on this dude, we could knock out a V-Star Pokemon. That's kind of where I was like, okay, cool. We have some ways to knock some stuff out. And I was like, oh, we probably just get absolutely cannibalized by Lost Zone Box, because they'll just go spread around with Sableye, and that's how every stage 2 deck usually dies.
Right.
Sableye is a gatekeeper of the format. Vitality Song heals 30 damage from every single Pokemon.
Right. So I mean, I could see it used there. Another way I could see it used is with the Armarouge that gets to move your fire energies around from your benched Pokemon to your active Pokemon. So you set a couple of these up here, and then you can play Cheryl and heal your evolved Pokemon. Now you don't have any energies that you're discarding, and then you just keep on trucking. Similar to how I think you and I were trying to develop way back in Fusion Strike era, the Inteleon VMAX, where you're just healing repeatedly and nobody could ever. Really
Yeah, I posted a list like this in our Patreon, and I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's some inspiration, and you can play Cheryl, you can play Armarouge. I think the deck has some makings of what could be good. There's glimmers of hope there. This might be a sleeper pick. It might be terrible, but it could be a sleeper pick.
Yeah. We'll move on to Chi-Yu EX, which I think is another kind of not so great card. Flame Surge, 100 damage, choose up to 3 bench Pokemon. For each of those Pokemon, search your deck for a basic fire energy card and attach it to that Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. It's more of a setup card, but not a great setup card.
I think it's actually really good, just not really good now.
Right, yeah. If we had Welder in the format, I think it'd be great.
That's exactly what I was saying. Like I was talking to someone, I was like, when I play second at OCIC with Welder Box, I would have instantly played this card. I would have been oh, this is sick. I just don't think it's there right now. We just don't have enough fire support, even though we just went over Skeledirge. Like, we're using Magma Basin to Armarouge onto a stage 2 Pokemon. Like, there are some issues there. If we had Welder in a format, Skeledirge would probably be very good.
Exactly.
Chi-Yu might be very good. Maybe Burning Envy is a good discard thing. Like, maybe Chi-Yu could be good in a control deck.
Yeah, I mean, we do see Crabominable V used every so often, sprinkled in there in a control deck just for that extra mill.
But in a world where that gets rotated out, I don't know. Chi-Yu might have a purpose. I think it's generally like back of the binder card.
Right.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it saw some success in its point. It's not a bad card. But I will jump into a card that I think is a bad card.
Okay.
Sorry, Quaquavel EX. I do not think you are very good.
No. Lively Samba is not doing it for me.
So,
and I love water Pokemon, and this is just, it's not it. There's another good water Pokemon in this set, and I know, Zach, you were hyped for it, and I was kind of hyped for it. Seeing semi-success in Japan right now, and I know that we put out a deck profile recently, not only in our Patreon, but also on our YouTube channel. But Chen Pao EX is basically water Blacephalon GX.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how we're looking at it. There's so much water support in the format right now. It's just, why wouldn't you play a water deck with this Pokemon? You know, it's a basic Pokemon, 220 HP, weak to metal Pokemon, which we don't see a whole lot of right now. Maybe we'll see the little Zamazenta from Crown Zenith come out and play if this card gets better. But Hellblade does 60 damage for each water energy from your Pokemon that's discarded. And that's, is that any Pokemon? Any number of water energy from your Pokemon?
I think that's any of your Pokemon in play, so you can just load it up, explode. Very similar to Blacephalon, very similar to the Blastoise Black Kyurem EX deck that did well back in the day. So some way back playbacks. I think it might be too bulky for this format. Probably falls within like a tier 2.53 deck. Just because of like Lost Zone Box being able to gobble up its bench and stuff like that. I hope it's wrong. I hope the deck ends up being really good.
Well, we have Baxcalibur too, which we didn't really touch on beforehand. But Baxcalibur, a stage 2, but not an EX. It has the absolute 0, or that's what it's translated to. I think that there's an English translation out. But as often as you like, during your turn, you may attach a basic water energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So very old school Blastoise-y. You know, you've got your Rain Dance effect here, some Frostmoth action. Now, it doesn't have to be to your bench Pokemon, which is nice. It can be to your active. So now we have the ability to flood water in. There's a ton of water support cards that are out there, and so many different attackers that you can play in a box like this. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw just a water box and not just a Chen Pao EX deck with Baxcalibur in it, and then kind of going from there. I mean, Palkia did great for a while, so having the dual type weakness on your Pokemon and being able to pivot in and out based on your matchup, I think could be really good with a card like this. And we have Irida, which is one of by far the strongest supporters in our format right now, that can search out rare candy and the Baxcalibur. So now you can just evolve straight up into it with one supporter card, and you're ready to go as long as you've got water energy in hand.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's the makings there of a good deck. Another card, I'm just going to kind of jump over. I don't even know if I want to cover every EX from the set, because I think some are kind of mid.
Really bad.
I think a lot of the set has a lot of filler cards. Like, we're getting three to four Japanese sets put into our English set. So there's going to be cards from all around. Card that I'm hyped up about is the Luxray. Now, this Luxray allows you to, if you have more prize cards left in your opponent, so if you're losing the game, you could play the Luxray, a stage 2 Pokemon, down on your bench. It's lightning type, so lightning, colorless, 180. It takes 20 for itself. But the kicker is this card is good against Lugia V-Star, very popular deck, especially in our upcoming formats. It's also used, you could use it in a Gardevoir deck if you have reversal energy. This is one of those like reversal energy use cases where you're behind on prize cards, you have a 3 energy attack, you can attack with it. You're good to go from there. It also has a Shinx that comes out in this set. Probably both not played in the same deck, but once during your turn, if this Pokemon's in the active spot, you can have your opponent switch their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. So with Jet Energy, which allows you to move from the bench to the active, switch card, escape rope, stuff like that. Proper sequencing could see Shinx follow like a gust on your opponent, or a half gust on your opponent.
Yeah, I could see this maybe in the future, depending on what type of cards that we get out in these next upcoming sets. Maybe even potential for a hit and run style deck like we had back in Sun and Moon era, where we had the Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, Hitmontop combo. I think that could be kind of cool. So definitely something to keep your eye on. And that seems like it's going to be a common card too. So if you want to grab a play set of those, should be pretty cheap too. Side note, on atlastcg.com, I heard that they are putting out singles of this set very soon, so you definitely want to go check that website out and use code TSS12 to save yourself some money on any of the Paldea Evolved singles.
Sure.
We'll move on here. There's some psychic Pokemon. The big one I really want to talk about here, well, there's two big ones. There's a Spiritomb that's in here. As long as this Pokemon is in play, basic Pokemon V in play don't have abilities. So that's pretty good if you're playing up against Mew. Now all of those Genesects are gone, and Path to the Peak doesn't shut this off. Not that it would help your Genesects at all, but that's really good against a Mew deck. On top of that, we also have a Mimikyu that has the Safeguard ability to prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's EX and V Pokemon. So if you thought Miltank was bad, now we're blocking EX Pokemon too with this Mimikyu here.
Yeah, I mean, Mimikyu is not terrible. Could definitely be strong. We've seen some cases where Miltank control and stuff like that is strong. I think Mimikyu has the potential. It definitely has the attacks for it. Scrolling down a little bit more, the psychic types are a little bit on the rough side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not a whole lot of psychic Pokemon that stand out to me as meta type Pokemon. There is the Ting-Lu EX in here though, in the fighting Pokemon. Ting-Lu has the Earth and Curse ability. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent's Pokemon that have any damage counters on them have no abilities except for Pokemon EX. So now we're fighting through the abilities of, the Radiant Pokemon with abilities. We're fighting through the, just general non-EX, non-rule box Pokemon that have abilities. And there's so many ways to maneuver damage counters now, whether it's, again, Hawlucha, the Radiant Alakazam, the Meowscarada, the EX. All of these can play around. Sableye, I mean, just in general, there's the Sableye that can plant damage counters where it wants to if you're playing a Lost Zone deck. So Ting-Lu definitely seems pretty interesting, and I know that Zach, you just put out a recent deck profile on our channel here too to play this with the Koraidon EX that came out from the base set for Scarlet and Violet, so we can start loading up this Pokemon with some energy cards.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ting-Lu has the opportunity to be successful. I don't know how successful that's going to be. It's really one of those things where it doesn't stop EX Pokemon, and in order to stop EX Pokemon, you'd have to play Path. There's something missing, I think, from the deck, so I don't know if we have it right or if the format's just not right. Certainly has the capabilities to be strong against certain decks, though.
Exactly. In the dark Pokemon, we'll move on pretty quickly. The Paldean Clodsire EX seems okay, but again, the 3 energy cost for dark type Pokemon is pretty hard to achieve, especially when Mew VMAX is just so fast. All these other decks are way faster than that. It does seem pretty cool. I know it's got the ability Toxic Swamp. Once during your turn, if there's a stadium in play, you may make your opponent's active Pokemon poisoned. So that's different. We don't have a whole lot of poison status condition, but now another way to modify damage as far as the effect goes there too. There's the Murkrow. I know I've seen a lot of people have this in their pre-release decks that they've been posting online, but the Wings of Unity attack here that kind of goes hand in hand with some of the psychic Pokemon. Not really great, very Mad Party-ish, but kind of worse because it's still only 20 times and we have all these big beefy Pokemon in the format now. It doesn't seem great. There is a card moving on to the Metal Pokemon, or the Steel type, however you call it, but the Copperajah EX I've seen in a few lists popping up because it's got 300 hit points, it's a stage 1, and it takes 30 less damage from attacks, plus it also does an attack for 260 damage, has the same energy cost as that Zamazenta I was talking about earlier from Crown Zenith in the Nosequake attack. And this attack also does 30 damage to each of your benched Pokemon. So that's the downside there. But swinging for 260 damage on a stage 1, not so bad. I've seen it played with Lost Zone boxes because you can just Mirage Gate to it pretty easily. And
Q-Fan also has a hundo HP.
Okay. Yeah.
Like 100 HP for Q-Fan is pretty huge.
Yeah. For a basic Pokemon, yeah. So, it's not getting sniped with the Sableye as easy because they usually like to spread the 120 damage. And you're usually targeting something like a Comfrey or something small on the bench. But Q-Fan, I mean, that's pretty good. Still can do swing for 50 damage, which is not terrible, but modification enough. So we won't spend too much time on there. I have seen Noivern EX. There's only the 2 Dragon-type Pokemon in this whole set. But the Noivern EX in the Regidrago V-Star decks as something to add to your Dragon.
If you're a Regidrago fan, I think Noivern EX has an opportunity. I actually don't know too much beyond that. Dominant Echo might be annoying, but I think most decks that have special energy can get them elsewhere.
Exactly.
Seems to me like it's a little bit of a Lost Zone box nightmare. Right. Unless you're playing it with the Regidrago. And in that case, don't quote me on anything. I'm not testing the Regidrago matchup versus Noivern anytime soon.
Yes.
Squawkabilly might be one of the better EXs out of the set.
Yes.
So,
exactly.
On the first turn of the game,
spend some time there for sure on Squawkabilly. I think
yeah,
that's good.
On the first turn of the game, you could pitch your hand and draw 6. I think a lot of decks might just cut a Lumineon. A lot of decks playing 2 Lumineon might play 1 Lumineon, 1 Squawkabilly. Especially if you do want to discard stuff like a Lugia deck or Wings of Unity deck or Unity Wings deck or I'm trying to think, maybe a Gardevoir deck might play it to discard some Psychic Energies.
Yeah.
A lot of decks want to discard stuff, so discarding in Pokemon's cool, and Psych Up does 20 damage, attach up to 2 basic energies from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's cool.
I mean, it's got Dedenne GX vibes to me, or Shaman EX vibes, where you do have that Pokemon that's kind of squishy that sits on your bench for the entire game, but the draw support there, this screams to me that the format's going to speed up in the next coming sets, because you're just dumping your hand and trying to see more cards. I mean, that's never been a bad thing in Pokemon trading card game, ever. The 160 HP is a little concerning, but we make things happen and go from there. But I think that with a card like this, definitely some play in maybe Lugia. What we also see with a lot of these support type Pokemon is that they usually have an attack where they can go back into the deck to get out of the way, and this card doesn't have it. So that's, if we're looking at all of the support Pokemon in the TCG over the past 5 or so years, or more, this is probably the worst one, but still it's almost something that we kind of need in the format right now, just to make it go a little bit faster, turn the dial up a little bit more, to see more cards quicker.
Sure. Another card that I think we briefly skipped over and I just want to touch upon is Pelipper. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you can search your deck for a supporter, put it into your hand, or search your discard pile for supporter and put it in your hand. I think it's a really cool ability on a stage 1 Pokemon. Not sure how much play it's going to get, but did want to touch base on it.
Yeah.
I also...
mini Lusamine, right?
Right, it can be. I think it's more like... Well, I guess so. It's interesting.
Yeah.
There's Artisan, new Stadium. Allows you to search for your deck for a non-rule box basic Pokemon and put it onto your bench. So I can see a few Lost Zone box decks playing this to grab additional Comfey, Sableye, Cramorant. Mm-hmm. We have a new Boss's Orders reprint along with the reprint of Super Rod, which is shuffle any 3 combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your hand into your deck. and Superior Energy Retrieval, which is discard 2 cards, search your discard pile for up to 4 basic energy cards, and put them into your hand. So I think reprints are always good. I love seeing cards. I guess this keeps Boss in our format for the foreseeable future. Super Rod is going to be a welcome addition to just getting back some resources, where a lot of decks have only been able to play Clara or Miriam. Super Rod is definitely nice. Superior Energy Retrieval in the right deck might just be the best way to get back energies.
Yeah. I mean, between that and then, I mean, just Super Rod, I feel like a lot of people are hyping up the set in itself and not talking about Super Rod or Superior Energy Retrieval, but we really don't have any recovery cards right now. If you think about it, we have the one that's played in Gardevoir. I can't even think. It starts with an M. Zach, help me out here.
Wait, you said
Miriam?
it's played Miriam? Yeah, Miriam.
Yeah. Miriam is like the recovery card right now.
And that's a supporter.
Right.
This
now
is
you're
not a
wasting your
supporter.
support. Exactly. So having an item card, since we lost Ordinary Rod to the rotation, back in the format is just so good. Super Rod is going to change the way a lot of decks are played. I know that we have the other item card that can get anything that's 90 HP or less from your
Rescue Carrier?
Rescue Carrier. So that's one, but the energy aspect of it just doesn't necessarily happen at all. But I really think that both of these cards are going to fix a lot of decks. I wouldn't say make them, meta changing, but definitely fix.
But definitely can make them a little bit more consistent. Like, I think Lost in Box gets a Lost in Box Gardevoir better going forward.
Yeah.
Iono is probably the big one from this set. I know we've briefly touched upon it. So each player shuffles their hand, puts it at the bottom of their deck like Marty, and then draws amount of cards based on the amount of prize cards they have left. So if you have a lot of prize cards left, like 6 at the beginning of the game, it's a kind of half shuffle, draw 6. And if it's late game and your opponent has 1 prize card left, you could really punish them.
Right. Imagine going second, your hand's absolute trash, you don't want any of the cards, and none of them help you to progress the game. Then you just slam down your supporter card, you get 6 brand new cards at the beginning of the game. Now you're looking towards the end of the game, your opponent's got a massive hand, and you're behind, and now you put this card down, and you come back into the game, you're able to take prize card after prize card, your opponent's not drawing well after that, and you're just winning because now all of those good cards that your opponent had are at the bottom of their deck. If anybody's played in the Zoroark GX wave of Pokemon TCG, I mean, you used N, right? That's just how decks were played. I could see this card being a 4 of in many decks, if not a 3 of. So if you are looking to upgrade any deck, definitely look at where you can fit Iono into it and go from there, because I feel like our format will almost revolve around Iono and the recovery and consistency of decks because of Iono. So that is a game-changing card.
What else do we got going on here? I think really the other ones are probably just Jet Energy and Reversal Energy. To really go over things briefly. I know we've been kind of running through the cards, but we want to give you the best information at hyper fast speeds today. PJ and I are also both busy today, so
Yes.
Jet Energy I think is cool. It's probably my favorite out of the 2 of them.
Yeah. Jet Energy is great. I think it adds so much to Lost Zone box. I think it adds a lot to just Giratina V-Star in general. If we're looking at it that way, if we look at the Japanese decks and their success, Jet Energy is pretty much in every single one of the Lost Zone boxes now, no matter what you're playing with it. The Reversal Energy is a staple in many evolution decks, if not every single one, like you talked about with the Luxray. But we're also seeing it in a couple other decks like Lugia. And I know that Lugia is pretty dominant in whatever format it's in, but Lugia with these energies now, more special energies mean more tricks for Lugia V-Star, Um, we've seen things come into play now with the Jet Energy and the Weird Ear V, which you load all these colorless energy onto the board, and you're just able to push the Weird Ear V to the active with Jet Energy, uh, taking a huge one-hit knockout on a Pokemon. You can also switch things in and out of the active. There's, the Snorlax from Lost Origins. There's the Block Snorlax, which people really hate to play against. But there's so much potential for cards like these in the current meta decks, not only future decks. But Therapy Energy is kind of meh, and so is Luminous Energy. But yeah, you're definitely right on the nose here with Jet Energy and Reversal Energy, Zach. What decks are you thinking about trying out with these energy cards first?
I think that Lost Unbox for the most part with Jet Energy. I think Reversal Energy is going to could be good in Lugia, could be good in Gardevoir. Just a handful of decks. I think it's really the worlds are your Cloyster. We'll go with the Pokemon pun today.
So, I mean, if you are looking at getting into the TCG competitively, you stumbled across this podcast, you're kind of learning how to play a little bit more. I would definitely look into the Gardevoir decks that are out there.
Sure.
You can search them on Play.Limitless, and then start building the deck pretty cost effectively. And then you can just splash in cards like Iono and Reversal Energy, pretty low cost, I think, to upgrade a deck completely. Lost Zone's pretty cheap too, and that's what's nice about Pokemon TCG, is that we're pretty low cost, and I think that just the current decks that we have out there that are sub $100 to build a competitive deck, just with brand new cards coming into the meta from Paldea Evolved, you got to think a brand new set. These game-changing cards are probably like 50 cents, 75 cents US, somewhere in that ballpark. On the high end, pre-release weeks, if you need the cards to play, Zach and I are looking at going to NAIC, getting these cards. The price is going to be a little bit higher because now you're playing on that higher caliber level. But if you're looking at grabbing some of the cards too for local play, for cups and challenges and things like that, to get your feet wet in the competitive scene, definitely great cards to be purchasing for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I think the set you could upgrade a few decks. Pokemon decks are pretty cheap at ATM. I wouldn't necessarily buy anything right now unless you need to play it right now. But the set's not legal until NEIC weekend, the end of June. So I'd let it sit there for a little bit, pick it up from your LGS. Alternatively, if you want to get it pretty quick, we are sponsored by Atlas Collectibles, so check that out. You can also pick up the cards from PTC Geostore online if you want to play on live. So, Paldea Evolved, super interesting set. I'm excited to play with it. PJ, what are we going to talk about next week? We got to figure that out.
Next week, I think that what we're going to go over is getting into the right mindset for NAIC. If you made it in past the gauntlet to NAIC, I think that we can talk about what you need to be doing to prepare for a big tournament like that, and maybe it gets you in the right mindset for going to the World Championship in Yokohama, Japan as well.
Sure.
We'll also touch base a little bit on kind of rounding out the season for the late night events. I think that we can touch base on that too. We've had lots of bumps and bruises along the way, but I think that we're finally smoothing everything out for the audience that does play, and we're really excited. We do also have some new members that are joining our team, and maybe even the podcast next week, so we can talk about that as well here on the Yellowhorn podcast. I will leave you on this note, Zach. I know this weekend I will be playing in some pre-release tournaments for Paldea Evolved myself. If you get the chance, or there's a local game store nearby or event center that you can do that, definitely recommend that. Do one of two things this weekend: either play some pre-release or go see the new Spider-Man movie. Both are great ways to spend your weekend.
Sure.
Early summer months.
100%. And I mean, I'm going to be playing in a cup, but I do have some free movie passes, so maybe I will use those to go see the new Spider-Man movie as well. Wasn't a huge superhero fan, but Marvel Snaps got me enjoying some Marvel movies a little bit more. They got me. So on that note, we'll catch up with everyone later. Thank you so much for tuning into this week. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, let us know and we will address them on the pod next. The Shuffle Squad proudly uses Ultimate Guard products. We think that their Cortex and Katana sleeves are absolutely fantastic with to play in tournaments. And of course, they have a wide range of products that are simply fantastic. Whether you're looking for a new binder, playmat, or if you're looking for one of the Sidewinder deck boxes you might have seen one of us play with, be sure to check it out. They have their EU web shop, and it's available on Amazon elsewhere. Head on over to atlascollectibles.com and support the Shuffle Squad by buying some of their products. You could get a discount of 6% off of Pokemon TCG booster boxes, so you could grab from a large selection of sealed product, save 6%, or you could save 12% by using code TSS12 on all of their Pokemon TCG singles. Atlas has a large selection and ships worldwide, so be sure to pick up your Pokemon products there. Use code TSS5 at ptcgostore.com to save 5% off your order of Pokemon TCG live codes. They have a great selection of codes available from all different sets at competitive rates. They get instantly emailed to you, so you can use them right away to get all the cards you need to build that next great deck creation. Again, use code TSS5 to save 5% off at ptcgostore.com. Have you ever wanted more content from the Shuffle Squad? Well, we do have a Patreon account. You can support the Shuffle Squad directly by pledging towards our content, whether you want to get access to a special discount code from one of our sponsors, or if you want to have access to all of our deck lists, exclusive Pokemon TCG articles, and more. You can even chat with the Shuffle Squad in Discord. So this really does help support the Shuffle Squad getting to more events, and we do have some amazing articles for you to learn more about. Be sure to sign up to play in the Shuffle Squad's late night events. They happen every single Tuesday night at 12 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Eastern. We have one that's geared towards more of an EU time zone and an NA time zone, but anyone's welcome to play. There's an opportunity to win a trip to Japan for the World Championships, so by all means, feel free to participate in these events for free. You could check out any of the links that we have available in the description. Get coaching from the Shuffle Squad on Metafy. If you want to improve your game on Pokemon TCG, you can absolutely test with the best. We have some of the best players in the world on our team. So whether you want to get coaching from Calvin or our current EUIC champion, Alex Szymanski, or anyone else that's available on Metafy from the Shuffle Squad, pick up some coaching today, become the best player you can be. Thank you so much for supporting the Shuffle Squad by watching this video. It would mean the world to us if you'd like this video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe even leave a comment. You could also click on this other video from the Shuffle Squad to continuously watch and support us. If you haven't got a chance, check out the description to learn more about our sponsors, and that could also help support the Shuffle Squad. Thanks so much for watching. Have yourself a great one.